this might be the most shocking feature in all of Antarctica.
What do you think of when you see it?
Honestly, I think of the glacier having its period.
Okay.
Deep in Antarctica lies a glacier that appears to bleed bright red water. Scientists first discovered it in 1911, but it took them 160 years to finally understand it. The red liquid flows from a crack near the top of the glacier down to the frozen lake below. For decades, no one could explain where it came from. When researchers finally uncovered the truth, they found something that had been hidden for 5 million years. So, what exactly did they find? And why is it one of the most surprising discoveries ever made beneath Antarctica? The Blood Falls. Taylor Glacier is named after Griffith Taylor, the geologist who led the expedition that first reported the strange red flow in the year 1911. At first glance, it looks like any other massive glacier in Antarctica. Thick ice slowly moves across the frozen land, shaped by countless years of snow and extreme cold. But hidden within this glacier is one of the most unusual natural mysteries ever discovered. For more than a century, scientists tried to understand why a bright red liquid kept flowing from the ice. The answer turned out to be far more surprising than anyone expected. The glacier stretches from the huge East Antarctic ice sheet into a remarkable place known as the McMurdo Dry Valleys. This area is unlike almost anywhere else on Earth. While most people picture Antarctica as a land covered with endless snowstorms and thick blankets of fresh snow, the dry valleys are completely different. Many of the normal rules that people associate with Antarctica simply do not apply here. The McMurdo Dry Valleys are among the driest places anywhere on the planet. Even though they are surrounded by ice and snow, very little new snow actually stays on the ground. The reason is the powerful katabatic winds that race down from the high polar plateau. These winds are extremely cold, heavy, and fast. As they rush through the valleys, they remove moisture and cause snow to disappear before it has a chance to build up on the surface. Instead of collecting into deep snowdrifts, much of the snow is carried away or turns directly into water vapor. Because of these powerful winds, the valleys receive almost no moisture throughout the year. In fact, they get even less yearly precipitation than the Sahara Desert, which is famous as one of the hottest and driest deserts on Earth. That may sound impossible, especially for a place located in Antarctica, but it is true. The dry valleys are so dry that large sections of bare ground remain exposed without being covered by snow or ice. This unusual environment has attracted scientists from around the world for many years. They study the dry valleys because the landscape is one of the closest places on Earth to what scientists believe the surface of Mars looks like. The freezing temperatures, dry conditions, rocky ground, and lack of moisture create an environment that closely matches the harsh conditions found on the red planet. Researchers often use this region to test equipment, study survival in extreme environments, and search for clues about whether life could exist on Mars. At the bottom of Taylor Glacier lies Lake Bonny, one of Antarctica's most fascinating lakes. The lake is covered by a thick layer of ice that has remained frozen for thousands of years. Even during the warmer months of the Antarctic summer, the surface does not melt away completely. Instead, the ice forms a solid frozen cover that traps the water beneath it. Although Lake Bonny is impressive, it is not the hidden ancient lake that scientists later discovered beneath the glacier. It is simply the place where the mysterious red flow from Taylor Glacier finally reaches the surface. Anyone who visits this remote location can see the strange sight for themselves. Bright red liquid slowly pours from a crack in the glacier before making its way toward the frozen lake below. For many years, this unusual scene confused everyone who saw it. The bright red color looked completely out of place against the white ice and frozen landscape. Some early explorers even wondered if the glacier was somehow bleeding. Others believed the color might come from red algae, or another simple explanation. But none of those ideas could fully explain why the flow never seemed to stop. The mystery became even more interesting because the glacier continued releasing the red liquid year after year. Even during the coldest conditions, when everything else around it remained frozen solid, the strange flow continued to appear. Scientists realized that something hidden deep inside the glacier had to be feeding this endless stream. What looked like a simple stain on the ice was actually the first visible clue to a much bigger discovery. Beneath the thick, frozen glacier lay an ancient, hidden world that had been sealed away for millions of years. The red flow was only a small window into that secret, offering scientists their first glimpse of an underground environment unlike anything they had ever studied before. Why did this Antarctic glacier appear to bleed? What if a glacier could hide a secret for millions of years without anyone knowing? Let's take a closer look. Geological record and early misunderstanding. A glacier is not just a huge block of ice that stays in one place. It is always moving, even though the movement is so slow that people cannot see it with their own eyes. Every day, a glacier pushes forward by only a few centimeters. It moves because of its own massive weight, pressing down and slowly sliding over the land beneath it. As it moves, it scrapes rocks, shapes valleys, and changes the landscape little by little. This slow process has been happening for millions of years. Taylor Glacier has been moving this way for an incredibly long time. For millions of years, it has slowly flowed across Antarctica, carrying ice and rock with it. Deep below its thick layers of ice, something unusual became trapped. Hidden beneath the glacier was a secret that remained untouched for an extremely long time, waiting for scientists to discover it. Millions of years ago, the area around Taylor Glacier looked very different from what it does today. Back then, this region was connected to the ocean. Seawater covered places that are now buried beneath thick ice. As Earth's climate slowly became colder, huge ice sheets began spreading across Antarctica. Year after year, the growing ice covered more and more land until it reached the ancient seawater. Instead of flowing away, some of that seawater became trapped beneath the expanding glacier. As more ice built up over thousands of years, the water was completely sealed underneath. Taylor Glacier continued to grow thicker and heavier, locking the ancient seawater deep below the surface. Since that time, the trapped water has remained hidden under the glacier. It has not been exposed to the open air or sunlight for millions of years. During the British Antarctic expedition, led by geologist Griffith Taylor, the team noticed something that no one expected. A strange red-colored liquid appeared to be flowing out from a crack in the bright white glacier. It looked as though the glacier itself was bleeding. The sight was both surprising and mysterious, leaving the explorers with many questions but very few answers. At that time, scientific equipment was much more limited than it is today. Taylor and his team did not have the tools needed to study the strange red material in detail. They could only write down what they had seen, collect basic observations, and try to explain it using the knowledge available at the time. One idea seemed to make perfect sense. Scientists already knew that certain types of red algae could grow in snowy areas around the world, especially in cold places high in the mountains. These tiny organisms can turn snow a reddish color, creating an effect that looks very similar to what the explorers had found. Because of this, the team believed the red stain on the glacier might have been caused by algae. It was a reasonable explanation based on the information they had. However, it turned out to be completely wrong. The real cause of the strange red flow was far more unusual than anyone had imagined. The truth would remain hidden for more than 100 years, because the technology needed to solve the mystery simply did not exist yet. As science improved over the following decades, researchers developed better equipment that allowed them to study Antarctica in greater detail. Even then, solving the mystery was not easy. Scientists needed advanced drilling machines to cut through the thick ice and collect samples from deep below the glacier. They also required enough funding to support these difficult and expensive research projects. Working in Antarctica is one of the greatest challenges scientists face. The freezing temperatures, powerful winds, and remote location make every expedition dangerous. Reaching places like Taylor Glacier takes months of careful planning. Researchers must transport equipment across some of the harshest conditions on Earth while protecting both themselves and their delicate scientific instruments. Collecting even a single sample from beneath the glacier is a major achievement. Every mission demands careful preparation, teamwork, and a willingness to face extreme risks. Antarctica does not easily reveal what it has hidden beneath its ice. Its ancient secrets have remained protected for millions of years, and uncovering them requires patience, determination, and years of scientific progress. Only after decades of research were scientists finally able to reach the trapped water beneath Taylor Glacier and begin understanding the remarkable mystery that had puzzled explorers since 1911. What did scientists discover beneath Blood Falls that completely changed what they thought they knew about Antarctica? How can liquid water survive beneath hundreds of meters of solid Antarctic ice without freezing? Let's find out. Liquid water discovery. In 2015, a group of scientists used special radar that could see through ice to find out what was happening inside the glacier without drilling into it. The radar showed a hidden system of liquid water flowing through the solid ice. This proved that liquid water was present in a place that should have been completely frozen. This was not just a small pocket of trapped water. The underground reservoir stretched for many kilometers beneath the glacier, hidden under hundreds of meters of thick ice that had been building up long before humans ever reached Antarctica. On the surface, Lake Bonny is divided into two separate sections by a narrow strip of land. Because these two parts have been separated for thousands of years, each has developed its own unique water chemistry. Even the lake that people can easily see holds many secrets that most visitors never notice. This place is truly unusual. A glacier has been slowly moving across the land for millions of years above an ancient sea that became trapped beneath it. There is a lake on the surface that everyone can see, but far below lies a much older lake that almost no one has ever reached. Before the underground water reaches the open air, it looks nothing like blood. Instead, it is very dark, almost black, and contains chemicals unlike those found in any other water on Earth. The famous red color of Blood Falls does not exist underground. It only appears after the water comes out of the glacier. This underground water, called brine, is almost 3 times saltier than seawater. Such a high amount of salt stops it from freezing, even in temperatures that would quickly freeze an ordinary lake. The salt makes it difficult for water molecules to join together and form ice. Because of this, the freezing point drops to almost 6 degrees Celsius below 0 degrees Celsius. The lake stays liquid, not because it is warm, but because it contains so much salt. The iron in the water did not come from the water itself. It came from the rocks below. For about 5 million years, the salty water has been touching iron-rich rocks, slowly pulling tiny amounts of iron out of them in complete darkness. This happened one molecule at a time. Inside the sealed lake, the iron remains dissolved in the water in a form called ferrous iron. Since the water has never been exposed to oxygen, the iron stays clear and invisible. It has remained this way for far longer than modern humans have existed. Everything changes the moment the brine reaches a crack in the glacier and touches the air for the first time in 5 million years. The iron quickly reacts with oxygen. Within seconds, new chemicals form and the water turns a deep red color that looks just like blood. This is not an illusion or a mystery. It is a simple chemical reaction. The red substance that forms is called ferric oxide, which is the scientific name for common rust. It is the same process that happens when an old iron nail is left outside in the rain. The difference is that here the reaction is much stronger and happens on a much larger scale than most people will ever see. The brine is also more acidic than most natural salty water. This acidity helps keep the iron dissolved while it is underground. It also causes the reaction with oxygen to happen very quickly as soon as the water reaches the surface. Although the brine is still close to freezing, it is warmer than the extremely cold Antarctic air around it. Because of this, a small but noticeable difference appears when the water flows out into the open. As the brine collects on the frozen ground year after year, it leaves behind thick layers of solid iron oxide. These rusty deposits show that the same chemical process has been happening in exactly the same place for a very long time. This reaction is not only important in Antarctica, It is the same basic process that helped create huge iron deposits in Earth's ancient oceans billions of years ago, before our atmosphere contained much oxygen. In a way, Blood Falls is giving scientists a chance to watch a piece of Earth's ancient history happening right in front of them today. The mystery of the red color has now been solved. Ancient iron, millions of years of darkness, and a sudden meeting with oxygen create the famous red flow. But explaining the chemistry was only part of the story. When scientists studied the water more closely, they found something even more surprising. Hidden inside the brine were living organisms that seemed impossible to survive in such a dark, cold, salty, and isolated place. Could the strange microbes beneath Antarctica hold the key to finding life on other planets? What if life could survive for 5 million years without a single ray of sunlight? Let's find out. Blood Falls ecosystem. When scientists first studied the salty water flowing out of Blood Falls, they were not searching for living things. They wanted to understand the water's chemistry. But what they discovered completely changed their research. The water was not only unusual because of its chemicals, it was also full of life. The tiny living organisms inside the water do not depend on sunlight to survive. In fact, they have never needed it. Instead, they get their energy from chemical reactions between iron and sulfate found in the salty water. This process is called chemosynthesis. It allows them to live using only the chemicals in the hidden lake beneath the glacier. These microbes have created a complete and self-sustaining ecosystem inside the sealed lake. Some use sulfate and produce sulfide as waste. Other microbes feed on those waste products. Together, they form a balanced cycle that has continued for about 5 million years without any help from the outside world. This is not just one type of organism living alone. The salty water contains many different kinds of microbes working together as a community. Some produce nutrients, others consume them, and others break down dead material. They all survive in total darkness and in freezing temperatures that would kill most forms of life. Being completely cut off from every other living thing on Earth for about 5 million years gave these microbes plenty of time to change through evolution. When scientists studied their DNA, they confirmed that these organisms had become very different from their closest relatives. They had developed unique abilities that researchers had never seen before. Some of these microbes have an especially amazing survival method. Inside their cells, they change one form of iron into another and use that chemical reaction as their main source of energy. They are not simply living in an iron-rich environment. They are actually feeding on the iron to stay alive. When the first living samples were taken to laboratories outside Antarctica, scientists had to work very quickly. These microbes are perfectly adapted to the harsh conditions inside the hidden lake. As soon as they are placed in normal laboratory conditions, they begin to change, making them difficult to study. Everything these organisms do happens extremely slowly. They divide into new cells, use energy, and carry out chemical reactions at a much slower speed than most living things on Earth. Life inside this hidden lake moves at a pace that is almost impossible to watch in real time. The special proteins, called enzymes, that control all of their life processes have also changed over millions of years. Unlike the enzymes in most living things, which stop working in freezing temperatures, these enzymes remain active. They are specially designed to work in conditions that would normally make life impossible. The closest example of a similar ecosystem on Earth is found around deep-sea hydrothermal vents, where life survives without sunlight by using chemical energy. Blood Falls showed scientists that this kind of life is not limited to the deep ocean. It can exist anywhere there is the right mix of chemicals, even inside a glacier. Before the discovery at Blood Falls, many scientists believed that sunlight had to be part of the process that supports life. These microbes proved that idea was wrong. Life does not always need sunlight. It needs the right chemicals, liquid water, and enough time. This hidden lake has had all three for about 5 million years. Beneath the thick ice lies a sealed body of water that has no sunlight at all. Yet chemical energy has supported a complete ecosystem there for millions of years. However, Scientists soon realized they were not just studying a strange place in Antarctica. They had found a model that closely matches the conditions scientists believe may exist on other worlds beyond Earth. What if the best evidence for alien life isn't on another planet, but hidden beneath the ice of Antarctica? How did this help NASA rethink where life could exist in our solar system? Let's find out. NASA analysis of blood falls. NASA did not study blood falls out of simple curiosity. The agency sent special research teams there as part of an astrobiology program that looks for places on Earth similar to environments on other planets and moons. Because of this, blood falls became one of the most important research locations in space science. One of the main reasons is Jupiter's moon, Europa. Scientists believe Europa has a huge ocean of salty liquid water hidden beneath an ice layer about 15 to 25 kilometers thick. Sunlight cannot reach this ocean, and it has likely remained sealed beneath the ice for billions of years. The similarity between Europa and blood falls is striking. Scientists think Europa's hidden ocean could be more than 100 kilometers deep, making it about 10 times deeper than the deepest part of Earth's oceans. At the bottom of this ocean, hydrothermal vents may release chemical energy into the water. This is the same kind of chemical energy that supports the tiny living organisms found in blood falls. NASA launched the Europa Clipper spacecraft in October 2024, and it is now traveling toward Jupiter. The spacecraft carries 9 scientific instruments that will study Europa's ice, magnetic field, and chemistry. Its goal is to find the same kinds of conditions that blood falls has already shown can support life. Mars also has features that interest scientists. The HiRISE camera on the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter has captured dark streaks that appear on canyon walls during warmer seasons and disappear when temperatures drop. The iron-rich chemicals and salty water linked to these streaks are very similar to the brine flowing from blood falls. In 2018, the European Space Agency's Mars Express radar found what appears to be a lake of liquid water trapped beneath the ice at Mars's south pole. Scientists believe the water stays liquid because it contains large amounts of salt, just like the brine hidden beneath Taylor Glacier. Blood falls has already proved that life can survive in these kinds of freezing, salty environments. Another exciting place is Saturn's moon Enceladus. It constantly shoots water vapor and ice particles into space through cracks near its south pole. The Cassini spacecraft flew through these plumes and found hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and organic molecules. These are all important ingredients that could support life powered by chemical reactions instead of sunlight. Because of these discoveries, NASA officially named the McMurdo Dry Valleys, including blood falls, as a planetary analog site. This means scientists use the area to test equipment, develop research methods, and prepare for future missions to places like Europa and Enceladus. It is one of the closest places on Earth to conditions found on another world. Blood falls showed that life does not always need sunlight to survive. Chemosynthesis is not just a rare process found in unusual places on Earth. It is a strong and reliable way for life to exist as long as there is liquid water, the right chemicals, and enough time. A star, an atmosphere, or even a planet's surface may not be necessary. The discoveries at blood falls also helped engineers design robots that can drill through thick ice and collect water samples from below without bringing harmful contamination. These technologies are now being developed for future missions that may one day reach Europa's hidden ocean. The glacier in Antarctica even influenced the design of spacecraft heading toward Jupiter. The safety rules NASA follows to prevent spacecraft from carrying Earth microbes into the oceans of Europa or Enceladus were shaped in part by what scientists learned while studying blood falls. Researchers know they cannot search for alien life if they accidentally bring Earth's life with them. A glacier in Antarctica and a moon orbiting Jupiter are separated by about 628 million kilometers. Yet they may share the same basic chemistry, the same darkness, and perhaps the same kind of life. Blood falls has made scientists take that possibility much more seriously. If life can survive beneath the ice in Antarctica, then life beneath the frozen oceans of distant worlds can no longer be ignored. What if the greatest discovery beneath Antarctica is still completely hidden from science? What if the strange microbes beneath Taylor Glacier hold the key to finding life on other planets? Let's take a closer look. Subglacial brine system. The 2017 radar study showed that there is a hidden network of salty water beneath Taylor Glacier, but it only revealed a small part of what is actually there. The radar could not see the full size or depth of the system. Most of what lies beneath the glacier has never been seen, tested, or even detected. Drilling into the hidden lake without contaminating it is one of the biggest challenges scientists face. Every tool, drill, and sample tube placed into the ice could carry tiny organisms from the surface into a place that has been sealed off for 5 million years. Every sample collected from blood falls has contained living microbes that scientists had never identified before. Researchers believe they have only studied a small part of the life inside the hidden lake. Most of its living organisms are still unknown. They have been surviving, changing, and evolving in complete isolation for millions of years. The radar also showed that the salty water channels stretch far beyond blood falls itself. Scientists still do not know how far this underground system extends beneath the glacier, or whether it connects with other hidden lakes beneath the dry valleys. The famous red flow seen at blood falls could be only a tiny visible part of a much larger underground water system. Scientists know these microbes separated from their closest relatives about 5 million years ago. But they do not know what happened during all that time. How many new species appeared? How many disappeared forever? How the community changed over millions of years is still a complete mystery. All scientists can study today are the organisms that survived. As Earth's climate becomes warmer, Taylor Glacier is melting faster than at any other time since scientists began watching it. Researchers still do not fully understand how this faster melting will affect the pressure, the chemistry, or the delicate balance of life inside the sealed lake beneath the glacier. The changes are already happening. Scientists are also still debating exactly what pushes the salty water upward through the glacier until it reaches the crack where blood falls appears. It could be the huge weight of the ice pressing down, the pull of tides, changes in seasonal temperatures, or a combination of several forces. So far, no single explanation has been proven. There is also an ongoing debate about whether scientists should drill directly into the hidden lake and study it in detail. The discoveries could completely change our understanding of life, but the danger is just as great. One mistake could contaminate an ecosystem that has remained untouched for 5 million years. Every choice scientists make about blood falls is helping prepare them for an even bigger decision in the future. When the Europa Clipper mission sends back its data, scientists may have to decide whether to drill through the thick ice covering Europa's ocean. If they make a mistake, they could contaminate what might be the first alien ocean ever discovered. The dry valleys contain many glaciers, frozen lakes, and permanent ice formations. Scientists still do not know whether the salty water beneath Taylor Glacier is connected to any of these through hidden underground pathways. Finding the answer is one of the biggest unsolved questions in Antarctic research. Again and again, scientists have discovered that life can survive in places once thought to be impossible. The microbes at blood falls have pushed those limits even further. Every new discovery changes what we believe life is capable of, and no one knows where the true limit really is. Researchers continue returning to blood falls. They keep collecting samples, creating new maps, and discovering organisms and chemical processes that do not match anything already known. The 106-year mystery of why Taylor Glacier seemed to bleed was finally solved in 2015. But instead of ending the story, that discovery opened the door to far bigger questions. Compared with what scientists are trying to understand today, the original mystery now seems surprisingly small. The crack in Taylor Glacier has existed for longer than recorded human history. So, what do you think about the shocking discovery in Antarctica? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.